It's not a bad spot to get stuck in. I'm not too disappointed.
SAR Experience.
Привет из Odessa. Welcome to Odessa, Ukraine, in the lockdown, the coronavirus lockdown. It's hit us here just in the last few days. Basically, I'm speaking to you on the 20th of March. If you happen to be watching this in the future, and I'm sure the events are going to overtake us, but this is a very special or unfortunate Valka Valkas for me, Conor Klein, because it's not life as normal anywhere on the continent of Europe and other parts of the world with the coronavirus and the measures taken by a lot of national governments and on a EU-wide level in order to attempt to contain the pandemic and its effects. So Ukraine has also introduced this, and it's only natural. People have written to me a lot in the last few days asking me exactly where I am and what's going on in Eastern Europe with respect to the crisis. It is a bit different to what I've seen happening in Western Europe and North America. The number of cases here speaking today is actually extremely low in the region, not just in Ukraine, also in Russia and Belarus. It's of course the official number of cases. So there can be many reasons why that is less than 100 cases in, here individually in the countries in Ukraine, Russia and Belarus. And here we've had 3 confirmed deaths, which is obviously very small if you compare it to Italy, which is thousands, and Western Europe in general. It doesn't seem to have officially reached this here. Here in Odessa, in Ukraine, there haven't been any deaths so far, no confirmed deaths, and as far as not even a confirmed actual case of the virus so far. So fingers crossed that doesn't become obviously a major outbreak also here. So what has the government done and what's the situation? I mean, a lot of my clients who wanted to come in person, obviously that's all suspended for the moment because you can't basically travel. There are travel restrictions obviously coming from North America to Europe in general, also then coming from Western Europe, of course, to Eastern Europe. Ukraine has, since the beginning of the week, canceled all flights, so you can't fly here. They have not shut all of the borders. As far as I'm aware, there's still some border crossings open, but they're not very helpful. Most of them, for most people, if you were able to come. They are at the border, as far as I know, with Belarus is still open, but of course for Westerners, we need to get, for most people, you don't need to get a visa. You can use the visa free, which is actually flying in to Minsk. So obviously from here I cannot fly. I was almost going to do that earlier in the week, and I didn't get on the last flight to Belarus, and I'm kind of regretting. I'll go into a little bit in a few minutes exactly why that is, and also what I've been using my time for, because obviously my normal clients who come here to live this our experience, that is all obviously on hold for the moment. Besides, the transport link's been dramatically reduced. There is no trains and buses. I did take a bus over the weekend to a regional city to film there in the Delta, but probably that's even suspended at the moment. And BlaBlaCar still works. Of course, you can get rides and actually get around to a lot of we'll say between the big cities. Here in Odessa, I think it's a little bit different throughout the country. It seems here in Odessa, most places are closed, but you can still get takeout from most of the places, get your coffee, get your food from a lot of the restaurants in the center, and obviously takeout works. So supermarkets are open. So besides being able to do what I'd spend a lot of the time doing, a part of the day at least, is hanging out in cafes and actually working from there. That's not possible to be anywhere you can, and obviously things like nightclubs and bars are now closed, so you can't meet in a large group of people, so all events are cancelled in the country. That's pretty similar to Western Europe. I guess overall it depends. It's like a bit different, slightly different policy in every country, and it's now moved into being more and more strict. So that's basically the scene. Life goes on. You can see there are people outside, not as many as probably you'd expect, but it's not like everybody's sitting at home. In fact, down near the seaside, there are actually even more people out taking a walk because the weather has been very good up until today in the south of Ukraine, and then there's just been lots of people out. I have heard that in other cities in the west of Ukraine, they're a lot stricter about going outside, and that in fact everybody is being forced to actually stay at home in the evenings at least. And then in Kiev, it also seems like they're a lot more strict about actually not being able to go out and do things here. I think that actually speaks a little bit about the country and the differences in the mentality between the West, which is a lot more law-abiding, I would say, in general, than here in Odessa, which is a port city. Odessa Mama, Rostov Papa were the two criminal cities. The city's known for criminals in the Soviet Union, so there isn't the same respect for law here. So definitely people have been cutting corners, and you can see there's, as I look around here, we're actually just over there is going to be the Potemkin Steps, and this is Primorska Boulevard, and then you have up here basically to the center, Deribastovskaya. So you see there are people out, so it's not like everything completely froze, but of course I think the place has been gradually closing more and more, and it's fine for a few days. I have a lot to work on, but it's not exactly like living the Tsar experience as I do overall. So that's basically an overview of the situation right now. You cannot, well, there's no air links. You can get across some of the land borders if you really want to come to Ukraine from a neighboring country. They have stopped, though, if you're not a resident as a foreigner, that you cannot come. So if you were a resident strand, you could in theory get back, but basically you can't come here for the next 10 days until the end of the month. After, we'll see. Hopefully things have improved, but it's not possible to tell you that now. So, as mentioned earlier at the beginning of this video about Belarus, and that was another option for me to go to. I did think of getting on the last flight to Belarus, and Belarus is now the only open country in all of Europe, it seems. They have not closed anything. Everything works as normal there. They also have very few cases, and I'm not sure what the exact death toll is, but it's in count them on one hand, basically. Again, that's all official figures. Is that true? They do have a lot of trade with China in Belarus, so I don't know how they actually managed to avoid it. They did have a lot of protective prevention measures and tracking measures in place, but they did keep their flights open for longer than Russia did, which closed its border with China very quickly. But Belarus didn't, but they also basically in all three countries, they don't have a lot of official cases yet. They may be underreporting it. We know authoritarian regimes in general, as we saw with China, they're not very free with giving the information quickly as say more open, democratic and transparent regimes like we have in North America and Western Europe. So they may not actually be reliable figures at all. But everything is open there, life goes on. You can basically even, I'm getting messages from the different nightclubs in Minsk, so they're all open, so it's completely open. And if you are a little bit skeptical still about the severity of the coronavirus, it might be proven in the next few months to be completely wrong about that, but I do think it is a bit overblown, the reaction at the moment. Then that is actually probably the right decision, but we'll see going forward what happens. But definitely if you want to be able to enjoy life, enjoy things, and you aren't necessarily concerned about it, then Belarus would have been the country to get stuck in. At the same time, here in Ukraine, the weather has been really good. I'm not necessarily, our freedoms to move around are not curtailed so much yet. So it's not a bad spot to get stuck in. I'm not too disappointed. I just had maybe a slightly more attractive option if I had gone to Belarus, but and Belarus actually extended their visa free to up to 90 days now because of the coronavirus if you fly in and out of Minsk airport. They announced that 2 days ago. So normally it's just 30 days, so actually you could have stayed a whole 90 days. So they made it as attractive as basically being here in Ukraine from the visa-free point of view. And in response, they're definitely taking a pragmatic response. Here in Ukraine, what I've been told is that if you outstay your visa-free, which is 90 days every 180, then you have to go and you have to apply for permission to stay longer. I've been told you should do that 10 days to 2 weeks before the end of your 90-day stay here. It's 90 days every 180, so you don't have a problem, and that will be extended. That seems to be the current situation if you just happen to be randomly here, or like me, trapped, and you need that piece of advice. Don't be worried about it. Just take the right steps to go with Ukrainian immigration, get that sorted out. I won't have that issue unless this crisis goes on for a long time, which I'm hoping to avoid. So, you know, Ukraine, to look at it, there's still, at this point, a lot of options going on. Of course, it has all the other things in terms of, like, it's actually a pretty cheap place to live in, and because there's no travelers here. It is the winter anyway, so accommodation is extremely cheap in in Odessa Mama during the winter, but it's actually dropped even a little bit more now because of the quarantine, because obviously they don't have visitors and the weather has been good. So it's actually extremely cheap. It's probably one of the cheapest places in Europe to rent an apartment in a city center, in a beautiful city center like here in Odessa. So that's, I guess, a little bit of a perk to a certain extent, a little bit of money saved on accommodation, it looks like. And in general, it's a place to get stuck. Of course, you have just a great city to hang out in. It's not too curtailed. Beautiful girls, of course, still here walking around in Odessa and in Ukraine in general. So if I were to choose where to get stuck, I actually would have taken probably Belarus. I have a YouTuber friend, Danny, who's been on this channel. I actually did a vodcast with him a long time ago. Maybe even link that up in the card below. And he is in Belarus, and he actually left me a message on Sunday asking if you should go, what I thought, because he's never been there. And I said, this is a place. I said, man, if you get stuck in Belarus, it's definitely going to be more interesting for you than getting stuck in Germany, where he's been, well, he's officially resident, but he's been traveling all around. He was actually in Asia as well recently. So that would have been probably my preference as things have panned out. But other than that, I'd rather be here in Ukraine than obviously in lockdown in Western Europe, which wouldn't be as exciting. And it looks like my freedom would be curtailed even more. As I said, we're going to find out in the next few months whether, from a health point of view, what was the best decision. And I understand that policymakers have to make decisions with the information I have on hand, which is incomplete. So I'm not in a position to lecture them on exactly if they've taken the right course of action or not. I'm just a little bit skeptical. So what have I been using my time for with the coronavirus? Because obviously I don't have my clients coming here in person with me at the moment. I have been working on a new video course. Yes, I have been basically promising to do this for about 2 years since I started, with my rebranding and the Zara experience. It's almost 2 years now, and then for the last just over a year, I've had clients in person. I think it was a very valuable past year because I was able to help clients in person and really coach them and give them this amazing experience here in Eastern Europe. And I learned a lot from it. Now I really can understand the problems that most likely you are going to be facing when you come here at a new higher level than just based on my own experience. Actually coaching people has given me that, it's really been a great year for that. And actually, we're looking back at the last year. I've only taken a very small select number of clients. Of course, it's a premium service. I have you could say, a high price point for it, to come in person, live the Zara experience. Again, if you're interested for post-coronavirus quarantine, then there's the link below this video in the description. Go and fill out the application form. But basically, I maybe had around a dozen clients in person during the year. Some of them came 5 times, was the most, 5 different cities throughout the region, and several came a couple of times. So obviously, that number of trips was probably, probably averaging about 2 weekends a month on average. I had clients, and out of those dozen or so individual clients that came, 2 have gotten married. I think that's a pretty phenomenal return, considering I don't promise that. I don't promise that you get a date on the Zara experience. I sometimes get those questions from prospective clients. People who write to me and they expect me to set up 10 dates with all these supermodels, blind dates or something. Here's a little bit of a tip for you. Getting dates in Ukraine is not a problem as a foreigner, because there are so many scammers in Ukraine who wanted you to take them out on the date so they can steal your money. So that is not a good metric to use. And some of the other dating services online, I promise you, you get to go out with 10 girls, whatnot. That's not going to be the issue. It's actually vetting them, make sure that they're honest. And that's also the same if you do it yourself and just use Tinder. You have to be careful. I have a plethora of videos on this channel about that. I'm going to link some of them below in the description as well, up in the cards. If you haven't seen those, then definitely go and check them out so that you learn that before you come here. But I think it's been just a great year. So I'm working on this video course. It's going to be ready. We're going to roll it out in probably about 5 or 6 weeks. So that's been hard at work with. And my experience of making a course like I did for language learning in the past is that it will take me a lot longer than I think. But I have a good team to keep me accountable. So I'm going to have that up and launched in that time frame. Now, you might be wondering, well, how can I find out about it? Of course, you can go and click on something else that's very special, and that is I have put together a PDF that I'm going to leave up for, I did say because I'm recording videos the last 2 or 3 days with telling you about this, also the free PDF that normally the information in it I only give to consulting clients in part, right? So obviously part of the call and they have to pay, my current rate is $250 for the call. So you're gonna get that for free. I think I'm only actually gonna leave it up for probably 2 or 3 weeks. I did say a month in the others, some of the other videos that I've recorded, but basically if the link still works, you can go and get it. So if you're watching this fresh, just go and click on it now. You have to type in your email address and then I will send it by email to you. And there, of course, you will get also be in with the opportunity to go and invest in the course when it becomes available, because it's going to be obviously given first opportunity to those people who are interested, and it's going to be suitable for them. And that's why I have this free PDF, and it's going to be my secret places to go and meet women in Ukraine and Belarus, exactly where I hang out, and information about them. So, you watch all these videos on YouTube, not just mine, but other YouTubers, and they give you a lot of, advice about, in general, dating advice, travel advice. But where do you need to go and actually maybe bring girls out when you come here on dates, whatnot, and also meet women in real life? Then this is why I have this free PDF. It's only there for a limited amount of time, and then after that, it's gone. It's not going to be there again. So the link works. You're still in. I need to type in your email address, and I will whisk it off to you for free. So that's the coronavirus. That's how I've been, or that's the situation in Ukraine right now. I think things are going to be reviewed in about 10 days. So at the end of the month, I'll have a better idea. So I think realistically, considering how serious the situation looks in Western Europe and North America to a certain extent, China seems to be stabilizing according to the official figures from the government there, but it's probably going to affect us for a bit longer than the 2 weeks. So I'm thinking that realistically, we're going to be able to live the Zara experience again, hopefully either at the end of May or beginning of June, but we'll be in a better position to say more about that at the beginning of April. That's what I'm thinking. And in the meantime, of course, I will use the time very wisely and be able to produce this video course for you. So super excited about that. I had been planning to do it, and now I actually have time to focus on it. And stay safe wherever you are, take precautions. And as I said, I'm skeptical by nature about that it's not overkill, but maybe I'm going to turn out to be wrong, and I'm willing to accept that. So definitely don't take unnecessary risks. Stay safe, stay healthy, and yeah, see you very soon in another video here on YouTube, or maybe in person, living the Zara experience. Do svidania, do pobачення. Ciao, ciao.
SAR Experience.